I got a chance to interview someone who y'all probably know as a longtime member of Old Crow Medicine Show. I first met him when we toured together in Jack White's band. But what really puts lead in my pencil is the stories this guy, Cory Younts, has to tell when you're sitting around a bus or backstage. It would be a shame for only the people on the bus to be privy to these stories, so I thought he could share a few. Cory joined me and my producer, Brian Bovito, from the Old Crow tour bus. My co-host, Joe Hudak, had to miss out on this interview to get a butt lift, but took some time a few days later after the interview to discuss the legality of telling tales outside of school.
So wait, so the conversation with Cory included a lot of excrement talk, right?
Yeah, so I don't know if maybe I need to do like a dive into exactly which bathroom words will get us in trouble. But
yeah, look into that. I'm sorry I missed that one. That's right up my alley.
The other thing, can we get in trouble for telling gross stories about people who are dead?
No, if they're dead, they can't sue you.
Well, the thing, Kat, is that we'd have to have money for them to sue us for. So
that's true. We did this story fairly recently about Eric Carmen. We interviewed someone who played in Brian Wilson's band. I think it was Darian, right? Remember Darian from the Wonderments? We were talking about like Eric Carmen was a conspiracy theorist, and he was relaying a story of where Eric was talking to a member of the Wonderments, Nikki Wonder, about chemtrails and how chemtrails are out there to like, sterilize us and all this stuff. And so when that came across my desk and whatnot, we were like, well, someone flagged it, our fact checker flagged it. He's like, we got to go out to Nikki Wonder because we're saying that he's a conspiracy theorist. And I said, well, he's dead. And they're like, oh, it's fine then. So once you die, you're kind of good. Yeah.
So,
what was the context? What did Cory bring up about a dead person?
It was a story about taking a medication rectally.
I especially think that one. I think that anybody, Kat, is just going to, even family members will laugh about that.
And he told a story about me that I don't think is true, but I guess I have to put it in. It's fair game, right?
Yeah, I think you have to.
Yeah.
I need to hear this story, though.
Maybe I can sue Cory.
Long time.
Damn.
Can you hear me? Am I talking loud? Or?
No, you sound just fine. You sound like more redneck.
Thank you.
Oh, my background is so crooked. No. Thank you for coming and doing this with me, sweetie.
Yeah, buddy.
So you're on a tour bus right now.
I'm on tour bus.
You're on the old Crow Medicine Show tour bus. How many people are on that bus?
There are 11 of us on this thing, I think. We have crew on here too. So
you guys are just a bunch of like rednecks, right? You've built this thing from the ground up. Like, I think people love to see that.
I'm like, well, it's a hootenanny, it's wild. We want people standing up and clapping and dancing and, spitting tobacco and whatever you wanted to, and then when you get to these PACs, it's like no standing, no, nothing. A lot of this too, even.
Oh yeah. That's what happens when people get to sit down. They get comfortable.
They get
complacent.
They do.
Who just came on the bus?
Well, you know that sound of that door, don't you?
Who's that? Does he want to say something to you?
This is Catch Secor here. I'm doing an interview with Catherine Popper, who we used to be in a band with. She's in a group called Puss in Boots with Nora Jones, and we used to be on the road with Jack.
Hi, cutie. You can say something. This is like, look, this. I'm in front of a shower curtain. We're not putting on airs.
No. Well, I've got these things.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, that's why.
It's okay.
Let me ask you this too: is the bus right now? Is it still nice, or is it starting to get nasty already?
Oh, it's still nasty from last run.
You were the only person on Jack's bus that was louder than me, and I'm pretty loud. Like, we had a good time hooting and hollering.
We did.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know if we can say more than that. We signed an NDA, and I don't remember what it said.
We did?
Yeah, I think we signed an NDA.
Okay.
I mean, there's not much to talk about in terms of stuff that would get us sued, but I don't want to test it because I don't have any money.
I don't either.
So I called you up and I had said, I want to get some stories for this thing. And you gave me a few and they were so funny. But if you don't put that on mute, I'm going to murder you.
Okay, putting it on mute.
You told me 3 stories that
Yeah.
had me in stitches. So one was the Maria Callas story. And then you had some stories from your dad, Robert Younts. Am I saying your last name right? Younts?
Younts, yeah, Younts.
So your dad was a drummer who played with a lot of people, and you offered up some stories that he had told you.
The Maria Callas story, this was also a story that my dad told to me that he got from Chet Atkins. Chet Atkins was at this boxing event and a boxing match, and the guy came out and, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to have 15 rounds of hard hitting, no blows below the waist. But before we get to the actual event, we're going to have Maria Callas come out and sing our national anthem. And at the time, Maria Callas had been sleeping around a whole lot in town. So when the guy said, we're going to have Maria Callas come out and sing our national anthem, and right then some guy behind Chet Atkins yelled, Maria Callas is a cocksucker. And the announcer went, nonetheless.
That's so fucking funny.
Funny. That's why.
And where was that? Was that in?
I think in New York. New York.
New York. Right. Okay.
I had. What do you want to hear? This Adderall story in South Dakota. Well, I was with Bobby Bear Jr. at the time. We got pulled over by Highway Patrol, and he immediately pulled that. I know my rights. Crap, you can't do this to us. Which they were like, all right, get out of the car. And they said, what have you got? And I was like, well, I've got an Adderall. I've got a half an Adderall. That's all I had. And I didn't realize you had to have a prescription for it. And they were like, well, yeah, you have to have a prescription for that. So that's a felony right there. But so they handcuffed me, put me in the car, and, searched the whole van and all that. And then they took me to jail there in Chamberlain, South Dakota. And I don't know if I had told you this part of the story yet, but when they put me in the car, they had, those 1-800 numbers that you could call and find out what the pill number was or whatever. And so the guy got in the car, and I was in the back, and they called in that 1-800 number, and he must have hit one wrong number because in the speakers of the car came on like a sex number, oh yes, you've called the right hotline, that kind of thing. And they took me to jail, orange jumpsuit, fingerprints, the whole 9 yards, mugshot, which I would love, if you can find a mugshot, I can't seem to find it all these years.
Okay, I looked high and low for this mugshot. I even called the South Dakota Department of Mugshots or something, and some tired-sounding woman told me, we're a small town. We're not in the business of uploading shit into databases. So I paid $5 to look into a different database. I found a couple other small priors you got, Cory. I'll spare everyone the details. But I see you, motherfucker. I see you.
Yeah, the guitarist in the band had about a ounce and a half of weed on him too, which I did find out later. They did find that, and all he had to do was pay $500, and they let him go. And I had to go to jail.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Hold on, my battery just died on my camera. But watch this. While I'm doing this, you were telling me some great stories about your pops, if you want, or whatever you want to tell me.
Yeah. This is a pretty funny one. So, the Statesiders was Mel Tillis' band that my dad was in.
So Mel Tillis was one of country music's biggest hit makers. He was also known for his pronounced stutter, which he incorporated into his comedic appearances in movies like Cannonball Run and Smokey and the Bandit. I would like to say just one thing. We're closed.
And they were big partiers too. And they had to play an early show. And Mel came to him and said, guys, I want everyone to go to bed tonight and get a little shut nose. Are you there, kid? Okay.
Are you entertaining the boys on the bus? Are they sitting there?
Mike's sitting here. He's heard all this shit anyway, but yeah.
Is he busting your ass? Like you're busting your balls for like being on camera and doing this? Or is he
a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit. Are we going to get in trouble for naming people and all this stuff too?
I don't think so. I mean,
I mean,
here's the thing. I'm not in
yeah.
the business of trying to get anybody fired or sued.
Okay.
I
Okay.
want everybody to get laid and paid. So
Laid and paid. Okay. Yeah. I'm
that is
fine with
like,
that too.
that's
Even
what
the
we're
dead
trying.
ones.
So if, like I'll run it by some people,
I can
but
barely hear you. Did you lose your microphone?
no, I'm putting the camera in.
Oh, it's because you're not sitting in front of your microphone. Okay. Most of these funny ones, though, are really, I mean, they didn't happen to me. They were my dad was full of them. Mel Tillis is fun of them. Like those guys, they were the mess, man. They were like the Led Zeppelins of country music, and they really were. They were.
I wonder what your dad would think about. I mean, and he probably saw it before he passed, but like the difference between the buses that they were on and then the bus that you're on, right?
Oh
Like,
man, they didn't have running water or anything like that, and they would be so hungover. And one time they got to a gig and they were all so hungover. There's like 10 guys in the band or whatever. There was a little office building next door to the venue that they were going to. And they went in there and there was a big water jug. And it was just full like typists, like old women with the cat eye glasses and everything. And they were all in there typing. And all these rednecks come in there and just get in a big line and get at that water cooler. And they're just blub, 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 just taking all these ladies' water that they had. And finally, one of the guys looked over at all these women that were staring at me. They was like, "Sorry, ladies, we've all been eating country ham." They didn't want to tell them they were hungover.
do the shitting in the cowboy boot one.
Oh, the shit in the cowboy. Okay, so Mel Tillis in the '70s was doing commercials for CB radio, and so they had two CBs on their bus. They were in Alaska, and Waylon Jennings was up there with them too. And it was a package tour that they were doing. My dad and Jerry Reed, great guitarist as well in Mel's band, and so they wrote a whole like dialogue, like it was two cops talking to each other. And everyone's listening on the CB radio, including Waylon's bus. Eventually, they get to like, I think that's Waylon Jennings' bus, and we probably ought to pull them over. I bet they're loaded. So Waylon, they hear all this over the CB radio. They threw out all their shit, flushed it, threw it out the window, whatever they had to do. Found out later that it was the Statesiders pranking them, and to get back at them, they shit in all their cowboy hats. And
It just escalates.
oh
Like,
yeah,
I'm just imagining like a bunch of like coked up, smelly dudes just all sitting around with their brown eyes out. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
do you think they all shat in them together so they could laugh while they did it?
I would
Yeah.
like to. I'd like to pretend that that's how it was. I think the Statesiders were on stage, and they were like, "We'll just wait till they go on stage and go up on their bus and get all their hats." They didn't wear hats on stage most of the time. Like Mel had them all, comb their hair, and they had suits on, and so they didn't wear hats on stage. I don't know. If it was snowing, they may have taken them inside and shit in them. I don't know. I really don't know. This is really good too. So Roy Clark.
One time someone asked Eddie Van Halen, what's it like to be the greatest guitar player? And he said, I don't know, ask Roy Clark. So Roy was a badass musician, but was also a comedian and an actor. He was a recurring character on the Beverly Hillbillies and guest hosted The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson 23 times in the 1970s.
Was at a golf tournament one time. I think this was in the 80s or 90s. And he hadn't shit in like several days and was really backed up. And it was a celebrity golf tournament thing. And he was telling his wife, he was like, they were in a hotel. He was like, I just know I'm going to get out there like on the fifth hole and have to take a shit somewhere. And there's nowhere to go. And there's cameras and there's famous people. What am I going to do? So he had gone to a doctor like before they got to this tournament, and the doctor had given him suppositories to make him shit. And he was like, I'm not taking that. I'm not a grown man. I'm not going to take one of those stupid things, And so his wife convinced him to do it. She was like, all right, you really need to take one of these things, She ran him a hot bath and made him a cup of tea. She put it like right here's the TV. She put it like right here, and on the floor, Roy Clark he carried one of those doctor kits, like his checkbook and his wallet and all that stuff were in there. And he had it open and it was on the floor. So he gets naked and gets on the bed and he's laying on his side and he sticks this suppository in his ass and he's laying, oh God. Oh, he's just hating life, and right about then he sneezed and shot that suppository out and it hit that cup of tea, knocked it over into his bag. So the next morning he got up real early and had all this stuff laid out on the hood of his car and everybody, all this money drying and everything. And everybody started asking, well, what happened? I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it,
So who did he tell the story to?
He told it to my dad.
He did tell it. Okay.
This was at Mel Tillis' farm. We were fishing, and Mel was telling some story to Dad about, don't you remember that time the mother and that daughter, and then you got on the daughter and I got on the mother, and you remember? And Dad was kind of turning red, and because I was there, and he's like, I don't remember that. He's no, yes you do, and it was in where the hell was it? It was in Idaho, or you got on the daughter and I got on the mother. And he finally goes, I don't remember that, Mel. And Mel goes, yes, you do. Got really mad at it. Yes, you do.
How old was he at this point?
So, late 70s. So,
and did you
know my dad or Mel?
Any of them. It's an old man talking some nasty shit in front of kids.
Dad was 60, 62, 60 or something, maybe. Mel was 70 something. So, yes, you do.
So you were around, you got to hang with Mel and hear, you got to see the vibe. Yeah.
Yes. When I got older, they would start opening up and telling me this stuff. We went to Jerry Reed's funeral and we all went to lunch afterwards. And Mel's brother, his name was Richard Tillis, so they called him Bread Man. And he was notorious for just pulling his nuts out in front of anybody. He didn't care.
Thus, Bread Man.
Well, Bread Man came from, he really was a bread man in the 50s or something. And then also, but he did handle a lot of the money too. So I think that's where that came from. But anyway, he pulled his nuts out all the time. He pulled them out in front of Frank Sinatra at his 65th birthday that they were at. And he said, hey, Blue Eyes, you ever seen a pair like this? They were ruthless. They didn't care. Do what?
Is that who did the fruit basket?
No, they did the fruit basket to just people that wouldn't leave the bus, which fruit basket's kind of hard to. What you do is two guys. Let's see. What they would do is, if I can, okay, so you get back to back, right? And then you link arms, and then one guy picks up the other guy, right? So his shit's hanging, and then his shit's hanging or something, and then they walk backwards into the room or whatever. So, if I could think about it, anyway, they called that a fruit basket. I'll try and draw it. I can't draw it. What am I saying?
Wait a minute. I would like for you to do that.
Okay, try and draw two assholes here. One. So how do I draw the other asshole? I can't figure it out. I'll have to come back to this.
Let me see where you got before you got confused.
This is all I've got so far.
If you don't text that, if you don't take a picture of that and text it to me.
Okay.
Do not let the sun set on you in Richfield, Connecticut, because I will come find you.
Okay. I'll finish my masterpiece here since I don't have sound check, and I'll send it to you.
Well, was this fun?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Are you just being nice?
No.
One of my passions is making sure that these stories don't go away, that they don't disappear.
Right. Well, I'd like to tell one about you, if you don't mind. And this is the first time that you and I met, and I don't know if you remember this, but you came into the dressing room, laid down on the floor, put your legs over your head, and lit a fart. And I'm so glad you've asked me to be a part of this show, Catherine. Larry Gatlin said that to my Ted once when they were golfing, and he was describing how slick the green was because he putted and his ball just rolled, forever. And he said, Jesus, this is slicker than I'm on a gold tooth out here.
That is just so oddly specific, though.
Yeah, slick, isn't it?